Today, October 2nd, 2020, marks the 151st birth anniversary of Mahatma Gandhi, our beloved Bapuji. Every year, we celebrate Gandhi Jayanti to pay a tribute to him, who devoted his life to India's independence by using his strong weapon, ahimsa. Not only in India, in fact, the whole world celebrates this day as International Day of Nonviolence. This day is celebrated nationwide to educate and inspire the present generation. The contribution made by Gandhiji to make India an independent country. On this day, our Prime Minister, along with the President, gathers at Rajghat, Delhi, to pay the tribute by offering flowers to his Samadhi. Mohandas Karamchand Gandhi was born on October 2nd, 1869 at Porbandar, Gujarat. His parents were Karamchand Gandhi and Putli Bai. His father, Karamchand Gandhi, served as the Diwan of Porbandar state. The Indian classics, especially the stories of Sharvan and King Harish Chandra, had a great impact on Gandhi in his childhood. Gandhi's early self-identification with truth and love as supreme values is traceable to these epic characters. In 1874, Gandhi's family moved to Rajkot, where he did his primary schooling. He was an average shy student with no interest in games. His only companions were books and school lessons. Later, he completed his higher education from Ahmedabad. Aged 18, Gandhi enrolled at Inner Temple University College of London to train as a barrister. After completing his studies, at the age of 22, he returned back to India. His attempts to practice law at Bombay failed. According to the custom of the region of that time, Gandhi aged 13 and Kasturba aged 14 got married. It was an arranged marriage by their parents in the traditional Indian manner. In the process, he lost a year at school but was later allowed to make up by accelerating his studies. In his autobiography, Gandhiji once said, "As we didn't know much about marriage, for us it meant only wearing new clothes, eating sweets, and playing with relatives." They had 4 children. After failing to practice law at Bombay, Gandhi was approached by a merchant who had a large shipping business in South Africa. He offered him the job as lawyer in South Africa. Gandhi took up this job and in 1896 set sail to South Africa. Immediately upon arriving there, Gandhi faced discrimination about of his skin color and heritage. He was not allowed to sit with European passengers in the stagecoach and told to sit on the floor near the driver. At some times he was beaten and also kicked. In another instance, he was kicked out of the train after refusing to leave the first class. These events were turning a point in his life, awakening him to social injustice and influencing his further social activities. This was where he developed his political views, ethics, and policies. He soon found out a way to revolt, and that's called Satyagraha. With the newly formed Satyagraha, he dealt with the discrimination. Through this, he became a national hero. At the request of Gopalakrishna Gokhale, Gandhi returned to India in 1915. Back from South Africa, Gandhi was a totally changed man. His success in South Africa were all known throughout India. At that time, India was under the rule of British and Indians had lot of issues to be dealt with. Gandhiji was introduced to Indian issues, politics and Indian people by Gokhale, who was a respected leader of the Congress party at that time. He brought an international reputation as a leading Indian nationalist, theorist, and community organizer. On May 25, 1915, Gandhiji established an ashram near Ahmedabad. At that time, the ashram was called Satyagraha Ashram, which was later renamed as Sabarmati Ashram. After returning from South Africa, Babuji started staying at this ashram. He led a very simple life and a high level of thinking. Rather than buy British manufactured clothes, he began to use portable spinning wheel to produce his own cloth. The spinning wheel soon became a symbol of Indian independence and self-reliance. Champaran Satyagraha was the first popular Satyagraha movement. It was a farmers' uprising that took place in Champaran district of Bihar, India. The farmers were protesting against having to grow indigo with barely any payment for it. Without any protest or violence, Gandhi fought this. He documented hundreds of testimonies from peasants about their condition and kept compiling these and submitting them to the government as reports. He asked for a government inquiry into the peasant condition. After 6 months of struggle, a commission was appointed, and this commission recommended the abolishment of the forced indigo cultivation, which was a major victory for the peasants. Kheda agitation. Kheda is a district in the state of Gujarat. Farmers here faced a terrible famine. Even in this condition, the British compelled the peasants to pay land revenue. Gandhi organized the peasants of Kheda and signed a petition stating not to pay the tax for this year. The government in Bombay rejected the charter. They warned that if the peasants did not pay, the lands and property would be confiscated and many were arrested. Even when their properties were seized, vast majority of farmers remained firmly united and supported this movement. Ultimately, the government was forced to arrive at a settlement with the peasants. Khilafat movement. When the British government decided to abolish the Caliph of the Ottoman Caliphate, who was considered the leader of Sunni Muslims, a political protest campaign was launched by Muslims. This protest was led by Shaukat Ali, Maulana Muhammad Ali Jauhar, Hakim Ajmal Khan and Abdul Kalam Azad. Gandhi felt that Hindu-Muslim cooperation was necessary for political progress against the British. So he leveraged the Khilafat movement, which in turn resulted in a temporary stoppage of Hindu-Muslim communal violence in India. From a normal party member, he roused in the front line of Indian National Congress. There he started leading further freedom struggles against British. Non-cooperation movement was a mass movement launched by Gandhi in 1920. It was a peaceful and a non-violent protest against the British government in India. Indians were asked to relinquish their titles and resign from government jobs. People were asked to withdraw their children from government-controlled or aided schools and colleges. People had to boycott foreign goods and use only Indian-made goods. The main aim of non-cooperation movement was the demand of Swaraj, or the self-government.
Within weeks, Gandhi moved into action with his historic Salt March. On March 12, 1930, Gandhi and 78 chosen members of the Sabarmati Ashram began a 24-day march to the beach at Dandi, 241 miles away, to break the British law which deprived the poor Indian of his right to make his own sword. March 12th to April 5th, 1930, Gandhi, leading a peace brigade of 78 khadi-clad disciples, made his way on winding rural roads, marching in the name of God. He had no trouble in walking. Less than 12 miles a day in 2 stages with not much luggage, he said. Child's play. He was then 61. Mrs. Sarojini Naidu, the Indian poetess of fame, joined the party on the way. The popular response was beyond all expectations. On April 5th, 1930, early in the morning, Gandhi marched to the shore, bathed in the sea, and picked up some salt left by the waves. Mrs. Sarojini Naidu, standing by his side, cried, "Hail, Deliverer!"
Quit India movement was launched at the Bombay session of All India Congress Committee on 8 August 1942 during World War II. This movement was launched in response to Mohandas Gandhi's call for immediate independence. During this protest, majority of freedom fighters were arrested and barred. After all these struggles and historic events, on 14th August 1947, midnight, British decided to leave India. The next day morning, that is 15th August 1947, India became a sovereign and democratic nation. Eventually, 15th August became Independence Day for India, marking the end of British India. When the moment of freedom came, Gandhi was nowhere to be seen in the capital. Though Nehru and the entire Constituent Assembly were to salute him as the architect of Indian independence, the father of the nation. At 5:17 p.m. on 30th January 1948, Gandhi was with his grandniece in the garden of Birla House, on his way to address a prayer meeting when Nathuram Godse, a Hindu nationalist, fired 3 bullets into his chest from a pistol at a close range. "Hey Ram" is widely believed to be Gandhi's last words after he was shot. Gandhi's death was mourned nationwide. Over 1 million people joined the 5-mile-long funeral procession that took over 5 hours to reach Rajghat from Birla House. The Birla House, site where Gandhi was assassinated, is now a memorial called Gandhi Smriti. The place near Yamuna River where he was cremated is Rajghat Memorial in New Delhi. Gandhiji was commonly known as Bapu. Bapu is a word for father in many languages in India. Mahatma Gandhi, honored as Bapu, father of nation. Gandhiji once said, "Sanitation is more important than independence." Gandhiji was a devotee of truth and non-violence, Satya or Ahimsa ke Pujari. On his birthday, let us remember him and celebrate this day with joy and prosperity. His life was an inspiration for all of us, and sacrifices he made are our responsibilities now. Let us contribute ourselves to the growth and development of our country. To pay salute to our nation's father, do not waste their efforts and struggles by letting India go down. My words are not enough to speak about Mahatma Gandhi's values and deeds, but we as the future of our country can honor him by living our life with his principles of truth, peace and non-violence, and lead our country to an incredible nation. Thank you. Jai Hind.